Side bends. You're probably thinking, what did I just see? And that's because you're used to seeing them being done with a light kettlebell or a light dumbbell. But they're actually a way more effective exercise if you take them heavy. And a lot of times you're going to outload the dumbbells, so you need to use a barbell. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that. To start, obviously you need a barbell, and I also strongly recommend using straps. There's going to be some people who are grip elitists and think that they're way better for not using straps, but all they're doing is limiting their core gains because their hands can't hold the bar long enough. You're doing this exercise to train some of your core muscles, not your grip. If you want to get a stronger grip, just do some dedicated grip work. You'll get more out of that for your grip, and then you'll get more out of this for your core. Okay, now that I have that rant out of the way, let's get to actually walking through the exercise. First, you're going to find the middle of the bar and then wrap the strap around it. I like using bars with center knurling for this purpose because the middle of the bar is already marked and it takes all the thinking out because I don't like thinking that much when I'm training. However, if you don't have access to a bar with center knurling, you can just use your hands to mark the middle of the bar. Put your pinkies on the edge of the side knurling and then see where your thumbs overlap. If your hands aren't big enough to overlap your thumbs, then just see where they meet or where there's a gap between your thumbs and do your best guess from there. This is going to be way more reproducible and way more accurate than just guessing from the beginning. Whether the bar has center knurling or not, you're not going to be perfect every time, and that's okay. You don't have to be directly in the middle so that the bar is balanced, but as long as the weight isn't smacking the ground and limiting your range of motion with every rep, you're going to be just fine. As you can see here with this set of 120, I was a little bit far back, so the weight tipped forward. But I didn't let that stop me, still got a great set in and did the same work that I would have if I had repositioned. If you're always trying to find the perfect balance point with this exercise, you're just never going to get this done and you're going to ruin your gains. So just do good enough and then get to it. Once you're locked in and ready to go, you're just going to pick this up like a suitcase deadlift. You can put your other hand on your opposite side leg or leave it out to the side. That's up to you. I usually put my hand on the opposite side leg, but sometimes my body just doesn't feel like doing it, so I leave it out to the side. And honestly, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Using your hand on the opposite side leg does add a little bit more support and stability, but with the weight that you're doing for side bends, there's not too much of a difference starting it off, so you don't have to overthink it. One thing to note is that your close leg is going to be doing a lot of work, and you might also feel this movement in your adductors when you're picking the weight up, as well as when you're actually doing the side bend. This is normal and okay, so don't freak out and think that you're doing it wrong, but it could be a sign that you need to do a little bit more adductor work. If this is the case and it's actually affecting your side bends, then just throw in one hard set of any adductor exercise a week and you'll probably clean that problem up pretty fast. As for actually doing the movement itself, you're just going to stand looking forward and then lean to the side with the weight until your hand passes the top of your kneecap at least. You can go a little bit further, awesome, but you don't have to, and then stand back up to the middle. The cue that I like to use for this is to think about my rib cage and my hips opening up and then closing off when I'm standing back up. Kind of like Pac-Man chewing. If getting down to your kneecap isn't comfortable yet, then just work within a comfortable range and slowly push it over a few weeks so you can allow yourself to get acclimatized to the movement. I'm going over that a little bit more later, so stay tuned. Finally, you might be wondering why I'm not going all the way over, and that's because I just find it's wasted energy. You're not getting much for the muscles going all the way over. You're kind of just compressing your body, and you're going to get plenty of that when you do the other side anyways. So I find it's wasted energy, and I can just get more reps and get more benefit out of the exercise by stopping at the middle and then focusing on the part where I'm doing a lot more work, aka where gravity is actually pulling my body down and I'm trying to resist the weight and then overcome it. This is a good example of being smart with your training and knowing where to use your energy. But with that being said, if you want to go all the way over, then be my guest. You do you, it's your training. And now for a few things not to do. You don't want to use so much range or so much weight that you can't actually go to the side, but instead you start leaning forward. This isn't bad, it's just taking the target off of your oblique muscles and your QLs and putting it more on the muscles of your posterior chain. A lot of muscles in your back are going to be getting work during this movement, but we don't want them to be the main focus, we want them to be accessories. So if you lean forward, you're putting them more as the main focus and taking the focus especially off of the obliques. And when you're doing the movement, try not to bend your knees too much or lift your feet off the ground too much. Again, these aren't bad, they just change the targets of the exercise and can take away from the obliques a little bit. If you want to mess around with it and explore the movement a bit to see how you can adapt it best to your training, that's great, and I actually encourage that. Alec Blennis actually has an exercise that's a really great example of this, where he put one leg up on a box and then did a side bend so that he's targeting his adductors a little bit more. This also changes the starting position for the body, so you can actually get lower to the ground with it too. Again, this isn't bad. He just changed the exercise so that it best fit his goals and his training. And that's really what exercise is all about. So feel free to get a little bit creative and explore, and then find what works best for you. And you're going to have the most fun with training and make the most gains. So now that you know how to do them, how do you work them into your program? Well, if you've never done side bends before or never done them heavy, then you're going to want to allow your body a period to get used to them. I usually recommend 4 to 8 weeks to slowly increase the range of motion, the weight, the sets, and the reps so that you can get used to the movement and not tire yourself out. So this means still leaving a lot of reps in the tank the first few times that you do them, and then slowly working up until you find a point where you're actually either failing or it's starting to affect your main lifts. Once that happens, just bring back one of the variables a little bit so that it's within your capacity. Now you can program them just like any other accessory. Put them in a couple times a week after your main lifts, and then push them hard enough so that you're getting a meaningful stimulus, but not so hard that you are affecting your main lifts. And if side bends are going to be your main lift, then put them in first and go hard. Some things to keep in mind when you start putting them in and when your body's getting used to them is that you're going to feel sore in your back and in different muscles because it's getting used to it. It's a new movement and a new load for that area, so your body has to adapt to it. It's the same as putting in a new leg exercise or a new arm exercise and then your quads being extra sore or your biceps being extra sore. That's actually one thing that I noticed when I first put them in is my back, both lower and upper, was a little bit sore for the next couple days, and that was just DOMs, and it went away. And then the more that I did the exercise, the less DOMs I got. Just like when I first started doing squats, my legs were dead, and then after doing them for a few weeks, I was used to them. As for what days to put them on, I personally put them on the end of my deadlifts and my squat days, because if I do them on the end of my bench days, I'm usually drained for squats and deadlifts the next day. However, sometimes if you're doing a lot of accessories for those movements already, you might be too tired out to actually load these and then just kind of half-ass them, so you don't want that either. Find a day where you can do them and they don't affect your main lifts the next day too much, but you can still get enough out of the exercise. So what I've been doing recently is actually doing them on my secondary squat and deadlift day so that it's not quite as heavy of a day and I still have some energy left in the tank to do side bends, and then doing another day on my bench day. When you start actually loading movements like this heavy, you're going to get way stronger and way more resilient. The core muscles aren't just made to resist movement. All resisting movement is matching the force that's coming into your body. So to do that, you need to have strong muscles. And I'm going to ask you, if you want stronger legs, what do you do? Do you do a wall sit for 10 minutes or do you do some heavy squats? Exactly. You do the heavy squats. The muscles of your core or trunk, however you want to refer to it, are skeletal muscles. They insert on bones and they pull them, and that creates movement around joints. So get this stupid idea that the core isn't made to produce movement and isn't made to be strong out of your head, and start loading it and working it just like you would any other muscle. You're going to make insane gains. You're going to be way stronger, and if you care about it, your core is also going to look way better. And with that, thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something. Now go out there and make some gains.